these days. Not quite as handsome as a Chris, but it's getting there. So, tell you what, delete, favorite. I mean, that's nice, but wouldn't it be cool if that were like a trash can and a star or something like that? So let's do that. Anybody ever used an icon font before? What have you used? Font Awesome, of course. Everyone loves Font Awesome. Font Awesome recently released a new version, and ever since they released the new version a couple months ago, they've been redesigning the website approximately every other minute. So it has actually changed since a week ago. So the good news is I tried it out last night, so now I know how to find what we're looking for. So the whole concept, fontawesome.com, the whole concept behind an icon font is, well, do you know the difference between raster and vector images? Anybody know what vector images are? Anybody? Tell us about it, Charlene.
They're scalable, so it doesn't like mess up the pixels and stuff.
Right, scalable so it doesn't mess up the pixels and stuff. They're resolution independent. They're not defined by pixels, but by math. So it's saying like a line from here to here, or a curve just so. And so no matter how far you zoom in, the curve stays nice and smooth. So if we can do that for our images, that would be fantastic. So if it's an illustration or something, not a photograph, vectors are always really nice. And there are a couple of ways to do vectors on the web that are kind of reliable. SVG is a format that's actually XML based. That is super good for icon-y things. Or you could always use a font, because fonts are that way too, right? No matter how far you scale up, unless the font was designed to look chunky, it's going to keep looking smooth, right? You're not suddenly going to get real jagged edges on. Right? That C still looks nice and smooth. So fonts are that way. So Font Awesome is one of several icon fonts. The whole idea was originally it was just a font, and it had all these images in it up in some Unicode addresses that no one ever uses for anything. So they're not used for any languages. They're just there. So may as well use them for some fonts. So that was the idea. Now there are some accessibility problems with that, and the latest version of Font Awesome lets us use SVGs instead if we want. So that sounds awesome to me. But you still use it the same way. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to use Font Awesome in our project, and we're going to use the SVG version. And yeah, I encourage you to just peruse this sometime. But they did just change a bunch of stuff. So we're not going to use, we're not going to download it. We're going to use a CDN again, like we did for Google Fonts, where we're getting it from their servers, so we don't have to use our bandwidth to do that. So let's just click on how to use up here. How to use. Okay, getting started on the web. Web font and CSS or SVG and JS? SVG and JS. So we're going to use SVGs instead of font because it's more accessible. So use Font Awesome's free CDN. Don't mind if I do. So there's a pro version that you can pay for, or the free version. We'll use the free version. And there's a little copy icon here. Notice it's a script tag. So it's a JavaScript that we're going to be importing into our project from the CDN. So we just put that in index.html. And in this case, we'll put it up here in the head. It's a really long line. I'll paste that in Slack too. So just stick that line of code up there in the head of your document. And then the Font Awesome icon will be available to you. And then how to use is actually ridiculously easy. So let's click on icons up here, and let's see the list of icons. Okay, I'm going to click on free so it doesn't search through the others. Notice there's over 1,200 free icons, but there's over 2,000, not pro only, but all of them. Yeah, there's over 3,300 total. But we'll just look through the free ones. There are so many. Let's look for trash. Yep, sure enough. I like this one. Cool. So you can see we've got a solid version of that. We've got this version of that. I like this version of the outline. So here's the little code snippet we need to copy. So just copy this. There's a little copy icon right there. I'll again paste this in Slack. And so what I'm going to do is inside my delete button, I want to stick that. So yeah, we're doing the whole create element thing. So this is going to be a little harder than it would be otherwise. Here's our delete button. We could, instead of saying text content equals delete, we could just be lazy here. Say inner HTML equals that. Why not? It's not user input, so there's nothing really dangerous about doing this. So you notice it's an I element, which was one of the ones that Netscape added 23 years ago or 24 years ago for italics. But we use EM now, emphasis, if we want to italicize something, because that's more accurately describes what we're trying to do. So the I element is still a part of standard HTML, but it doesn't have any inherent semantic meaning. So that's a perfectly reasonable thing to use for an icon. And the way Phantasm works is you just give it some classes to tell it, first of all, which font to use, Phantasm regular, FAR, and then which icon, FA-alt. So that's the one we're adding here, /alt. And that's all there is to it. Look at that trash can. Woohoo! Beautiful trash can. Maybe that's a little small. We could make the font size bigger if we wanted to. And the cool thing is, it actually will pick that up if we do, even though it's actually an SVG. If we look at this in the inspector, yeah, it's actually an SVG. And the I element isn't even there anymore. So I said the SVGs were potentially more accessible, meaning more readily usable by folks with some sort of disability, like if they're using a screen reader or something like that. But we do have to do a tiny bit more work. So to make it more accessible, all we need to do is put a title on this I tag. So the issue here is, what if they can't see the icon? How do they know that's a delete button? There's nothing there to tell them that, right? So kind of just like you put an alt attribute on images, you can just put a title on this. Title equals, and then whatever you want to show up if they can't see the icon. So delete or remove, whatever. Remove flick would be fine. And then the way Phantasm works, it'll actually put that in several places. Labeled by SVG inline FA title 1, and then inside the SVG title, remove flick. So that works. That works for folks who can't see the icon for whatever reason. So we could find a nice icon for the favorite button too. How about a star? Get back to our list of icons. Let's find the star. Do you like it filled in or outlined? I'm sorry, Daniel. It sounds like you've been overruled. Don't take it personally. I'm sure they don't mean any harm. Okay, let's copy that. So instead of setting the text content to the word favorite, let's set the inner HTML to that. And let's give it a title. I'll say toggle favorite. Yay, we got a nice star. Yes, indeed. So if you look at the two classes there, it was FAR on the first one, FAS on the second one. This is one of the things that's new in Phantasm 5. FAR for regular, FAS for solid. So the outline one is regular, the S one is solid. So if you wanted to change this to the other one, just change FAS to FAR. So it's solid now, refresh, and now it's outlined. So that's all you got to do to change that if you like the other way better. Yep.
So is Font Awesome like, is it like when you add the class, it's like adding the source image to it, or like how is it working?
So when it was an actual font, these were just classes that in a style sheet, the first class, which was just FA back then, now it's FAS, FAR, whatever, just tells it which font to use. So there's a CSS rule that says use this font. And there's a little more to it than that. And then this class, there was a rule that told it which Unicode character to put there. So it uses a trick called a pseudo element. We talked about pseudo classes just a minute ago. Pseudo element actually kind of adds a fake element to the page. And then you can use a content property in CSS to tell it some text to put in there. And so it puts a Unicode character in there that is the particular glyph that you're wanting.
But can you like customize them kind of? Like I saw like you had like it looked like you could edit the vector. Is that?
Well, not directly using Font Awesome, but of course, you saw that they are just SVGs. So there's no reason you couldn't just like copy this SVG and then fiddle with it and then just put the SVG directly in your code. Now you wouldn't be able to use this shorthand anymore. You'd have to actually put the SVG in there. But yeah, you could do that. Let's see. Is Ico Moon? Is that what it's called? Yeah. Ico Moon is a thing with SVG icon sets that you can customize to a degree.
Yeah, I used the material.
Okay, sure. Yeah, Material Design from Google has an icon set. There are a bunch of them. So get it? Cool. Let's use some. Are we happy with the size of these? I think I am. That's good enough. All right. Use Font Awesome for delete and fave buttons.